So here is an interesting quote by the famous author J.R.R. Tolkien. Mr. Tolkien is the one that is responsible for writing the literary classic known as The Lord of the Rings. Everyone has heard of The Lord of the Rings because of the movies that have been made off of the work of Mr. J.R.R. Tolkien. Mr. Tolkien was a very brilliant writer. And The Lord of the Rings is considered a masterpiece, a literary masterpiece. It's considered to be a classic. I mean, millions and millions, if not billions of dollars have been made off of the movies that they made off of his work. And so Mr. Tolkien could be considered a literary genius, if you will. And yet Mr. Tolkien said something very interesting concerning this desire that existed in his day and time to water down the Bible. Okay, this argument that the King James Bible is we need to water it down. We need to make it easier to read, easier to understand. We need to change the English in it to make it more relatable or more easier to receive. Mr. Tolkien, who was a literary mastermind, he was totally against that argument, against that perspective. So here's something that he wrote. Mr. Tolkien says, quote, "I think that this writing down, flattening, Bible in basic English attitude is responsible for the fact that so many older children and younger people have little respect and no love for words, and very limited vocabularies, and alas, little desire left even when they have the gift which has been stultified to refine or enlarge them." End of quote. That's a very interesting statement by Mr. Tolkien. Mr. Tolkien was against the idea of watering down the Bible to bring the Bible down to our level. Now, to be honest with you, I don't even think Mr. Tolkien was a saved man. Even though The Lord of the Rings, he borrowed a lot from the Bible, and he admits so much in his writings, okay? He borrowed a lot from the Bible to write his classic known as The Lord of the Rings, okay? But Mr. Tolkien was a Catholic, a lost Catholic, and I'm not trying to do a video on that would be that'd be a discussion for another day as far as what the Catholics believe concerning salvation. But if Mr. Tolkien believes what the Catholics teach on salvation, then you cannot be saved, because the Catholics teach salvation by works through the sacraments. And that's not the way of salvation according to the Bible. But the point of this video is not to condemn Mr. Tolkien as a lost Catholic, even though that's what he was. If anything, I want to bring out the fact that here is an individual who is known as a brilliant writer. That's the point. Here's a man who is an expert in English vocabulary, in words, because that's what he did for a living. He made his money off of words in the English language and putting them together in a way that would fascinate you and capture your imagination. Okay? One of the best to ever do that, Mr. J.R.R. Tolkien, and yet he said he was against watering down the King James Bible. And the reason why is because we're doing people an injustice by bringing the Bible down to our level, when what we should be doing, according to Mr. Tolkien, is bringing them up to the level of the Word of God. He said we should be letting it refine or enlarge us. He talks about young people having very limited vocabularies. He said, no, you're taking away from, when you water down these Bibles, you're taking away the opportunity for young people to develop their vocabulary and to have a greater appreciation for words and for their language, to enlarge them, okay, to refine them. And so, I mean, people argue, well, the problem is the King James Bible has these words in it that are very uncommon, or we don't even know what those words mean. Well, hello, that's why we have dictionaries. And people like Mr. Tolkien was arguing that, listen, if anything, you need to be learning those words. Instead of bringing the Bible down to our level, why don't you increase your vocabulary? Why don't you increase your education? Okay? Why don't you increase your learning and your understanding? You see, that's the problem with the world today. Is everyone wants to water everything down. Let's make everything easier. And in so doing, what we're doing is we're cheapening things. We're cheapening our understanding. Listen, the King James Bible is also a literary masterpiece. Sir Winston Churchill called the King James Bible a masterpiece. Okay? This is a work of art. Instead of dumbing down the Bible to bring it down to our level, listen, we need to stop lowering the standard. We need to reach the standard. Should not the Bible, which is the Word of God, should not the Bible set the standard higher than any other book out there when it comes to our need to increase our vocabulary and appreciate the English language for what it is if you're an English speaker? Instead of dumbing down the language and decreasing our vocabulary and our English skills, why not increase it by raising up to the standard that is set before us in this brilliant masterpiece that God has provided for us through the King James translators? God bless you.